Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome. We're singing the intro today. Welcome to Recipe for Reality. Another episode, a new year. It's 2025. The dial has ticked up another notch. Zach, here we are. You're chowing down on some good grub.
I am. I'm acting like I'm just getting out of Ponderosa, or I'm going to Ponderosa.
Right, like the meal on the way to Ponderosa, where it's like I just need to eat something, because you've been starved for days and days. But we're not going to be alone at this feast, this last supper of Survivor 47, if you will, because we've been meaning to have these two back on. We had them on our draft day, but we've been meaning to have them back on this show because it's always fun drafting fantasy teams, but it's also fun looking back at the end of the season to see how well, or in my case, how shittily we have done.
You did great.
Well, I got the great score. We'll talk about it in a sec. But we are welcoming back to the show Austin and Ingrid. We're gonna put you all see your names, your beautiful faces. How you doing, folks? Good to see y'all. Welcome back.
Good to be back. Doing well.
Back.
Even better knowing that for once I actually drafted the winner and was able to win the draft rather than drafting the winner and not winning the draft.
Yeah, this is pretty monumental. So we've been doing this draft now, I think 3 seasons, right? And then the first season, Ingrid, you picked D, correct?
Yes.
And you did not win the fantasy. Last season, you picked Kenzie, and you did not win the fantasy. But I am going to put it up here right now for all to see. Ingrid not only picked the winner of the season, Rachel, but Ingrid, by the skin of her teeth, has won the fantasy game by 5 points, which is one individual immunity win away. If Sue had pulled out that last individual immunity, Zach is the winner. I think that would have really been the only thing separating it. I mean, we're jumping right into it here, but looking at it, I mean, Ingrid started off the worst of all of us, losing Asia with 8 points. And then here's what's funny is that Zach just kept going and going and going. His 4 remaining players were 4 of the final 6. It was his 4 plus Austin's Sam and Ingrid's Rachel, but ultimately having Rachel, who won a record amount of immunities, found an immunity idol, played the immunity idol correctly, won a few tribals, and didn't have a ton of votes against her, ended up having 71 points. The second place person also, Kyle, with 40. Immunities matter, and that's why so many people saying new era, challenges don't matter. Challenges matter, especially in fantasy.
A lot. Haters will say she's a bad winner.
Wait, what was that?
I said haters will say she's a bad winner.
Oh, I thought you said, and I'll say she's a bad winner. I was like,
haters. Absolutely not. No, that's my queen.
Yeah, so this is our little post-mortem, but I did want to start with that. I'm glad Ingrid segued us into it because that is the topic of the day. It's the fantasy draft. Ingrid has finally won her first, and just look at my score, everyone. 69 on the dot.
Nice.
Thank you. Only champions can strive for that. But I mean, historically bad fantasy performance. Rome didn't make the jury. Annika didn't make the jury. Sierra made the jury, but has even less points than Rome, who didn't. And then Caroline, who made it far, but was the subject of a blindside that'll go down for the ages. So I'm very proud of my peak worst performance.
I don't know, Dylan.
With the second boot of the season. So
with 4 slots, you managed to get 5 ones, which is kind of crazy. You got 5 ones of your 4 people. That's fact, we've never had that happen on this show.
I'll take it.
I'm just trying to give you something.
Thank you. And as for our power rankings game, I will have this little victory because I did beat Zach here. There was really no way to catch me unless like Zach did a totally random final and like put him in a different order, or if I put him in the wrong order. But we basically had the same final 2, so it really came down to fire making, and even then it was 2 points difference. But I did win by 10 points there, so very exciting final power rankings for me. But I mean, this is our post-mortem. We get to kind of just talk about the season. We can talk about the finale, even though I think the finale was kind of everything we expected it would be. It would basically just be about the fire making because we kind of knew Rachel was going to win. There was a little suspense, like maybe there's a world where she goes out 4th and then Sam ends up pulling one out. But really, I mean, this was as clear-cut a finale as you could have had. I know they split it up, finale part 1, finale part 2. But Austin, Ingrid, since you guys are our guests, what did you think of the finale before we talk about the season at large? Did you find this finale as anticlimactic as I did, or did you find some entertainment value in this finale?
I think there was entertainment value because I think even though there was this whole like sense of it's got to be Rachel, right? Like that, it was still that though. For me, it wasn't. It's Rachel, and we're just watching to get to Rachel. There were the moments where I was like, it's still gonna be Rachel, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like the final immunity challenge when Sam is actually beating her in a puzzle for a little bit. You're like, hold on, is it gonna be Rachel? Like, what? How are we getting to the end here? And then she does win. But then Sam has a really good final tribal, and you're like, are we gonna see something weird happen?
Right. Yeah, well, I want to ask you about that too, Austin and Ingrid, because I kind of combined your names. I said Osgrid and Ingrid. I don't know what I said. But you two, like, what did you think of this final tribal? Because I agree. I felt like they edited it in a way that made it seem a lot closer than it actually was. And the big like kind of question heard around the world is like, why didn't she talk about her shot in the dark play? Because that is the most ingenious move. But I guess we'll go to our fantasy winner here, Ingrid. What did you think of the final tribal? Were you kind of worried at a point that it would be Sam in the moment?
I don't know that I would say I was worried more than I was like, okay, like he's putting up a good fight. I was more like happy that it like seemed less close, like for the same reason you're talking about, like anticlimaticness. But I'm also like, I take a lot of pleasure in being right when it comes to Survivor, and so like, if everything lines up exactly how I wanted to, I'm like, well, see, I figured it out. Like that's not boring to me. But like, I would like to thank for one moment in my entire life, Survivor 43, for having such an unpredictable ending that like there is still, I feel like after 43, I'm a changed woman in that I will never be 100% sure of how a season is going to end until the votes are read. So like, I think that Sam put up a really good fight, at least the way that it was edited. I did have that same question of like, why didn't she talk about it? Obviously she didn't need to, because you know, they voted for her anyway. But I do think that there were certain times that I don't remember exactly what was asked, but I do believe there were certain times that while we were watching, I was like, she could have talked about it there. She could have talked about it there. Yeah. Like, she had opportunities. She just didn't. Why, Zach? And
that's just like a very smooth exit there.
My other wonder is, did she talk about it? And just because of how they have to do the edit, they don't show it.
And that's the thing. It's like if they're gonna edit if they're gonna edit the final tribal, which was such a blowout, so suspensively, I don't know if that's a word, like it's full of so much suspense. Why not just edit the season that way? Like actually make it seem like, you know, less of an obvious winner's edit. Because I think that's the merit of 43 is that not that they made it obvious that Cassie was gonna win. It's just they made it obvious that none of the three were really gonna win. They focused so much on Jesse to where it became obvious Jesse would lose.
Oh, now he's gone. Now what?
Right. So it was almost like we knew Jesse was going to lose. We didn't know though who was going to win. And I think that's the problem here is that it was like basically Rachel. If she loses, then we would have had a 43 because we would have been like Sue, Sam, or I don't even remember who the third one or Teeny. Like who's it going to be? You know. So
speak ill of my Teeny.
So
I didn't speak ill. I just forgot because they weren't actually in the final three. That's why I was forgetting.
My biggest wonder is, and like the only way that I could say like if she did talk about it and it wasn't put in the edit is like, kind of to go off this whole like there was no suspense thing or trying to build in suspense of like if she talked about that, I could see that being very much like a Marianne
with the idol
pulling out the idol at Final Tribal and it just being like a slam dunk like. But like the thing is with Marianne season going into that tribal, it wasn't Marianne's to lose. It was Mike's to lose. Like it hadn't been built up to that point of
she didn't need to play from
if
behind.
Marianne gets to the end, Marianne's going to win. Whereas in this, it was told to us time and time again, if Rachel gets to the end, Rachel's going to win. So like just to then add that on is
it might have been like
too much. Whereas like showing us how they showed it, taking away maybe some of Rachel's good stuff and showing us all of the Sam great stuff made it feel like maybe Sam's getting this last thing or something, which even Rachel says in their fake reunion. She's like, I thought I was going to lose because he just did such a good job.
Yeah. And I think that's also probably why there's like that normie mentality of like Rachel sucks, because everyone watching the finale too, who's more of a casual Survivor fan who doesn't analyze the edit, hasn't been looking at every single move. They kind of forget what the last move was by the time the next episode starts. They're all looking at it like, what? Sam wiped the floor with her. And I think that's the only disservice for like hardcore fans, because we're watching it like, you know, we're led astray and we're worried other people are going to be led astray. I kind of in a similar way of Kenzie and Charlie last season, where it's like, I feel like it did such a good job propping up Charlie's game, but then he ended up not winning. Zach, what do you think? as someone who has only watched the new era, like where does this finale rank for you? And what about Rachel? We can kind of segue to her as a player, but what do you think of this final little duking out between Sam and Rachel?
So I was sitting here very much convinced that there was a world where Sam was flipping people, especially again with how they were editing it. I thought given the given what we had talked about, Dylan, right, in the episode prior, we had talked about we were expecting a predictable finale. And what I will say, right, is that, like, I think they probably could have done a little bit more to highlight the other three of them a bit more evenly so that we felt a little bit more like, okay, it's probably, or like, so that we didn't feel very like, it's got to be Rachel. So that we felt more like, oh, we've been thinking it's Rachel, but like Sam's doing a really good job. But I will say, based on the edit of that final tribal council, there was a very large percentage of me that thought like, oh, he just pulled them around. Because, you know, when you're like watching people, I forget who it was. I think it might have been, I think it was Gabe. At one point, they panned over to Gabe, and it was while Sam was talking, and he was like, yeah. Like, he was, and I was like, I just watched him change a person's vote. Like, that's, I think,
it
felt very much based on that edit that they were trying to hype us into this idea of like Sam might be Rachel. And I think that the reason they are doing that, and we can talk about this throughout the night, I think they're doing that, and that edit was built in such a way so that people want Sam back for 50, because Sam's a great player. And that's something that we talked a lot about throughout the season, right? Is that like when we started this season, we talked a lot about Sam's mentality of like, you know, I want to be the person that everyone's coming to, right? I want to be their friend. I want to be the magician, I think is what he said. Or I can't remember if that's what he said or not. Something to that effect, right? Where like
he had a lot of pull quotes. Like he said something every episode. Like
first half.
His first episode, he pulled out the wolf in wolf's clothing and the glue guy. Like he was delivering with the quotes, with the winner's quotes. Sure.
And I think that finale was less to highlight Rachel's win and more to highlight, hey, we're gonna probably bring this guy back. So we want to show not just like
he deserves another shot.
Yeah, he had a lot of great quotes, but it was less for her, and because again, they had given the season to her pretty much. I think they were trying to show like, hey, we are bringing her back, and we are bringing him back, and this is why, right? Because there is absolutely a moment in that final tribal council where I go, he just won. He really did just win because he was on the attack. He was ruthless. And I think that is the first time in the new era that I've ever seen someone be ruthless. Everyone feels very like introspective of themselves. And not even kumbaya, but like very like, if I'm going to fight, I'm going to fight about me. I'm going to fight about me and who I am. But he is the first person who I have seen in the new era really be like, she didn't do anything. Or like try to claim like, you think she did this? She didn't really do this. I did this thing. And even though it didn't sell itself well, right? Like he was selling an audience, but I think that from a producer standpoint, that is probably what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. And again, if we're talking about like potential people, I mean, look at poor Sue. Sue might as well have not been there. That was horrible to watch. I felt really bad. I
thought she did really well though. Like I thought she did well
when she spoke. She did well.
They
like, is something to be mentioned.
And they gave her very little airtime, but also like they made very clear by her statements like she had accomplished what she had already set out to do. Right? She wanted to be the person that
was wrapped up.
Look,
well for her.
Sue is a Survivor winner. If this was seasons 1 through 10.
Right.
She wins one of those early original seasons.
Right.
She wins Gabon.
Yeah.
Not Gabon.
I understand that reference. I don't. One day.
Zach, one day.
Maybe that'll be a season that I do by myself. I just do a rewatch of these old Survivor seasons, and I come on and I do a review, like a first watch review. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's an idea. But I thought between Sam and Teenie, what they were really doing this finale was less highlighting Rachel's win and more highlighting, hey, these are two people that we are probably going to think about bringing back for this season 50. So we really want, I mean, like Teenie's send off is so good that, and a huge props to Sam. I mean, like I was sitting here like, it feels like the other shoe is about to drop because like there's no way that they're winning. Like because because they're so far ahead. They would have won already. We would have cut away already. And then he makes one of the craziest comebacks in a comp I've ever seen, and then in fire making I've ever seen. So I think as a whole, the finale itself, Dylan, one of the things that we said specifically about the finale is that like splitting it into 2 parts, we were afraid it really wasn't going to deliver. I actually think it delivered really well, but they built it in such a way, and I'm curious now to see if this is what we're going to get a lot of in this 47, 48, 49 leading up to 50. This splitting into 2 parts because they are trying to highlight the people that they, or like Jeff, or because here's the way that I see it, right? Like producers are probably looking at Sam. Jeff, I think, is looking at Teeny, right? Like, so it's the feeling of like, who is Jeff looking at versus who are the producers really showcasing? So I liked it a lot. I thought I was going to be more disappointed, but I was thrilled.
Nice, Austin. You seem to be inspired when he was thinking.
Meanwhile,
about who's coming back. I
don't think Sam or Teeny are getting the call.
Well,
I think we're 100% getting Andy or Genevieve.
Well, here's the interesting thing too: is as I said that the reason they split it is because they wanted Andy in their finale because they love Andy so much that they couldn't have a finale without him, so they needed to call his boot episode the finale. But I do think it's interesting. Really right, even though I think what Zach's saying has a little merit in the fact that I just think this cast was so good,
a lot.
and this cast was also so good that I feel like honestly, at this rate, I always wanted them to go back to the older well for Survivor 50, but now I'm wondering, and I kind of love the original idea that I once thought of, and a lot of other people shared, which is like make 49 like the new era All Stars, and then do 50 with everything, or make 50 All Stars with new era and then 51 something else. Like if you're going to spend this whole year
of 49 being like a fan's favorites with
that could be cool with new era, cool. Like, but that's the thing is like you're getting so many great personalities, and it's been so long since the last All Star season. It's been 7 seasons. It's going to be probably 9 seasons. And like at this rate now, like I don't even think Ricard and Shan are locks. I don't even think that Omer. I don't think Omer is a lock right now because we've just been getting so many great players in this season alone. And at the end, we're gonna kind of go through and give a letter grading to each person. But like I think there's at least 7 people that could, several people that could get a very viable call for this season. I think even Rachel, the winner of the season, is not even in that 7. Like I think it's just that stacked.
And that's for me also. That's why I'm kind of hopeful that they are not looking at they're looking at no winners for this. I don't remember if it's been confirmed or not, but I think 50. If there were not enough characters to pull from, I mean, if we're just going in the order of 41 to what we've got right now, 41 we had Shannon Ricard who were like champions and Goliaths of that point in time. Like they were like the holy shit. But even then, still. Evie and Xander were big players in that season, and I wouldn't put them on 42 and like that. And like you said, like Omer, I forget who even.
I mean, Marianne probably.
Marianne is the only one that I could see being a winner that is brought back again.
Yeah, Marianne and Dee, I think for the winners have the best case.
I think Jam Jam has the best case.
Jam Jam too. Shit. Yeah, see, that's the thing. There's so many.
Then my thing from 44 is that like because 43 put Cassidy back on and put Jesse back on. I need something. I need that again. I can't live like that. I can't live like this. But 44 is where I start going, oh, because here's the thing, right? I think Jam Jam has a good shot, but like I would put Carson and Carolyn back on too because they were.
There is that whole. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you. But there's a whole like meta outside of have Carson and Carolyn burn their bridge with CBS.
Also because of Traders with Carolyn going on Traders. That's a whole other thing too. And I think that's the biggest thing too is like you now have to start figuring out, do you want to bring on all these people that Zach's listing, all these great players from the new era and lock them in so they can't go do Traders and stuff? Or do you want to make sure you secure your legends so that way you can get Coach Wade on your show one more time if you want him? Like that kind of shit is going to be so tough for 50, which is why I like
I'm kind of frustrated, like unpopular opinion maybe, that they are looking at 1 through 49 for 50. I think you're telling me that you are looking at a pool of over 600 people and going to pick 18 of them?
Yeah,
right. Especially because it's going to be 18 too. It's not even going to be 20. They're not going to do the Australian Survivor 24. Like they're going to go 18. That's like not a lot.
I don't think that's
so many people are going to get snubbed. So many people like I also like, I don't know how I feel about like I know a lot of people are championing for like T-Bird on this season. And that I would love that. But like
Vecepia and T-Bird.
Imagining people like Vecepia and T-Bird playing with people like
Charlie and Jesse,
like Charlie and Jesse. But like, but even like it's like there's the game has evolved so much since then. There's so many different like elements to the game. It's a completely different game than it was when they played. And like, not to say that they can't keep up. If anybody can, it's T-Bird, my queen. But like,
no, but
I don't know. I'm nervous.
Yeah,
I'm nervous because I feel like there are so many people that like the fans want, but then there's so many people that Jeff want or the producers want, and I think all three of those wants are different.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about being disappointed because they're using such a huge pool that like I kind of wish it had been like post Game Changers All-Stars, because those are the people that have not had an actual chance to play again outside of the winners, and even then it's just Nick. Like so like
eye roll. Did you hear that eye roll in Maryland?
Not great.
You can actually get people back that haven't played again. I don't want like people who've played 8 times.
Yeah. That's a good point. And I think the one way to satisfy it all would be bring new era players back, but give the old players like maybe some influence, like have them be like almost expand on the Islands of the Idol concept and like have them host challenges, have them bring rewards, like make it like a celebration of Survivor. But then at that point, I think people are also going to get frustrated where they're like, why is Vecepia giving them an immunity idol? Like let Vecepia play. And I think that's the problem. Is
I think we could also, I think we could also be entering an era of Survivor potentially. I know Jeff's really big on like the new people, but like I could very well see this being like a season in like the 10s and teens or a season in the 30s where we get a lot like a back to an era of Survivor of like every other season we're bringing people back.
Right.
Like that could be true. The 50s could be something like that where we're getting like every couple of seasons we're getting like a half All-Stars or a full All-Stars or something like that.
Yeah. And Jeff even said he wants to do like a year-long celebration of the show. And to me, that indicates you do 2 seasons of All-Star seasons. Because I honestly think there is a very great case you made. I think it was Ingrid saying like T-Bird should not be playing on the same season as Shan. It's just not going to be fair. Yeah. And we saw that with Winners at War, even Ethan and Parvati and Rob.
Winners at War.
Yeah, they all just got
they bring back these old people.
Yeah, and the only old player I can think of that like held their own was like Kimmy Kappenberg, and even then, like she didn't have a case to win, but she like made it to the end. But even then, it's like she made it to the end because she was a loyal number. And then when she did make the move, Jeremy one-upped her, was one step ahead of her. I think that's the thing is like the only players that we've seen transcend through time are the players that literally played through time. Suri, not even Parvati, because she took
even people like Parvati or Tyson that like came back for 40 and like totally did not live up to expectations at all.
Yeah.
Well, on top of people like Ethan who had been gone for a long, long time.
And it's also, I mean, it's going to come down also to what a fan base really like, not just what they want, but like truly what they deserve, right? You can having your favorites come back from pre-41 is a really wonderful thought process because, again, if you look at the way that 40 to 41 goes, there's a whole global pandemic in the middle of it. So I get it. Like if at a certain point, like, we'd already have passed 50 at this point if we were still going on that regular schedule. So I understand from a fan standpoint of like, your regularity was taken away from you. You want what you feel like you deserve. But what I feel like a Survivor fan base actually deserves is a season that's well balanced with challenges that fit the people within the cast, especially considering the fact that you've watched all of these people play at least once before. To bring anyone back solely for fan service and not because they have an actual shot at winning the game, I think that to me would be like, if I'm thinking about like the people that we've got in this new era, right? Like don't bring Sue back. Right. And again, that's not me saying that Sue is not a good player, but like if you went out of your way to not give her any airtime during 47's finale, you shouldn't be bringing her back. Right. And that's, again, I think that like there's probably a lot more people and I don't know, like I would rather watch a full season of 18 pre old era returnees, which again, I know like I have a very different opinion because this is my era, right? This call me Taylor Swift because I'm in this era now.
This is the only era you know, yeah.
The only era I know. But like, I would rather watch that than be like, oh my god, I'm about to watch a whole lot of people who like are legends playing them, be like, why are they legends? And there's also, I know that there's always new people in these fan bases. I mean, that's how it works. But like, I've never watched Parvati play. I've never watched her play. I could just go watch Deal or No Deal Island right now, season 2, and then I could
shameless plug.
And spoiler alert, everyone, she is misting everyone already. It's kind of crazy. But like, I don't want to have this image as a new fan and being like, oh my god, Parvati, like, and then her go out so early and be like, well, that's what we were so gassed up about. I think that this is a really good opportunity to usher in some new expectations for what like Legends and Survivor, like what the expectation is at this point in time, especially given like you're almost a century into seasons. You're almost a century into seasons. I don't even know what a century, 100 seasons. You're halfway to a century.
Oh, halfway to a century.
Halfway is different than almost, in my opinion.
I knew what he meant. I knew what
you spent a quarter century of a quarter of a century on the game and 50 seasons. Like, yeah, half.
Right.
I get what you're saying.
I don't know a single other show. I don't know a single other show that has 50 seasons to pull from almost at this point.
I keep telling people, man.
So if you have 49 seasons to pull from, yeah, I would love to see some like Legends, but also I want to watch a game. Like, I want to watch people earn it. And listen, if you have someone from that old era who is ready to come and play, even though they haven't played in 30 seasons, that's great. I would love to watch that too. Mm-hmm. But, you know, like, I'll be real. If they've won before, I don't need them back, right? I don't need to see the winners back because I can just go watch Winners at War. And that would be great.
I think anyone on Winners of War honestly should be retired. I honestly do. I think the one exception might be like Michelle Fitzgerald or Adam Klein, who like showed a different side of themselves.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Michelle and Adam, and maybe Sophie.
Right, like who really kind of reinvented themselves and feel like this new wave of Survivor. Like you played in the old era and now you're transitioning to the new. I really quickly before we move on to like the continue the 50 talk, I just want to like cap off this season. Any more comments like just on the season at large? We talked about the finale, a little anticlimactic, but also like they made really good drama because of it. But like I'll start with you guys, Austin, Ingrid. Like after this season, where does this fall for you guys in like the new era? Because that's also where Zach's pulling from his viewing experience. But like because also it's hard to talk about this in relation to like Marquesas, you know. But how does this relate in terms of the new era? Are you high on this one? Are you low on this one? What do you feel? And then we can get back into 50 talk because you know it's fun.
So two things. One as kind of like a cap to it as well. To link it back to fantasy. I also scrolled back in our chat to the other two fantasies because I saw the amount of points for Rachel, the 71. That's astronomical. No one's come close to that in the other two seasons. I think the highest was D, got like 59 in 45, but like 71's insane.
I think we did add a couple extra things. We did add the points,
but I didn't think we added enough for someone to like
hit 71. Correct.
Well, we've also, I feel like we've never also seen an immunity run like this in the new era. Like I'm trying to think.
She had more points on her own than Dylan got from his entire team. Okay.
Zach also.
The realization. Oh my god, you're so right. Wait. I gotta pull it up and embarrass myself more. I gotta. Oh my god. She got 2 more points than I did. So she was a 2 days survive.
Far behind Austin and was not far behind Austin.
Oh, all I needed. So she had 10 or more confessionals in an episode that put her above my whole team. That's crazy. All right.
What I also, the other thing I want to cap about, to just flash back to that draft day where we made that, where we did that fantasy, I was right about Saul.
Okay.
In my heart of hearts, I knew there was something about that man that I loved after just 2 episodes.
Yeah, like looking at the order, like who was the last one overall? Was it Kyle? I think, or Genevieve. Genevieve was last overall.
Genevieve was the last pick overall.
It was 9.
Genevieve, Saul,
Yeah,
and
go
Kyle
ahead.
were 3 of the final 4 picks, and like Saul didn't score a ton of points, but Saul, Genevieve, and Kyle were big parts of the season. Like Annika was the only dud from that last round. Like that last round, Genevieve and Kyle going in the final round is kind of crazy. And your penultimate pick, Ingrid, was Rachel. You had picked Asia and Gabe first. Like that is crazy.
I was
that
so
Kyle
excited that I ended up getting her because I was scared that I wasn't going to.
Yeah,
and I had a good vibe about her, but I felt like they were heavy hitters first. Obviously, I was wrong, Queen Asia, but
But like Kyle, Rachel, and Genevieve went in the last 5 picks of the draft. That is just something to just say. Yeah.
Anyway, 47 is my third favorite New Era season. That is where it ranks for me.
Cool. And you're a 44 guy, right?
44 and 42 can interchange that top spot any day.
And I'm a 45, 46 guy. So this is like right in there for me too. Like I just think they've gotten stronger as they've went along. I think the 90-minute episodes helps for me, but that's probably.
I would agree about the 90-minute episodes. This season is a struggle for me because I got home at like 9:00 every Wednesday this entire season, except for the last episode. And the episode that we watched in Philadelphia with Bryson Wynn. So awesome. It was so fun. There's so much content that I feel like I just need to go back and rewatch. So it's hard for me to assess it as a season right now. I do believe it's in the top half for me. I just don't really know where it fits yet. I am a huge fan of 42 and 44. I'm higher on 46 than most people are. But I honestly, and I told him I kind of want to do just like a new era rewatch, just like from start to finish. Even if we wait till the summer to do that when we're not teaching. But like, I feel like I need to see it again. Like I have rewatched Survivor so much in my life,
but not the new
but
era.
Never the new era. I've never gone back. Honestly, I barely rewatched 40. Like once we hit that like post Game Changers, those are the ones that I haven't watched as much. And like, I feel like I need to revisit them just to kind of form a better opinion. But in terms of like, I just really love Caroline, and we haven't talked about her at all. And I just want to make sure that that's said. Because I'm sure y'all have talked about her a lot on your own.
Hey, she's my top point getter, so I'm very
happy. But I really love Caroline, and I would love to see her back. I don't know because of people like Teeny and Sam if she'll get the call, but I would love to see her again.
Yeah, sneaky, like I would say sneaky second or third best player of the season. If Rachel's the best, and we'll get to ratings in a second, and like they were definitely hyping up Genevieve a lot too. Like I feel like those 3 women are like the 3 main core.
And I love all of them.
Yeah,
Caroline for me preseason was someone that even while we were talking and doing our initial ranking,
I was very low on Caroline preseason. You were very high on her. I remember
very high on Caroline, but I just liked the way that she spoke about the way that she wanted to play the game, and I think that like. For me, the person who stuck to the way that they wanted to play the game the most the entire time and never really faltered is Caroline. And I think that that's partially because of the people that she found herself aligned with. And I partially think that that's because she just as a person is able to do that. But I had a lot of respect for the fact that like from day one, they showed us very clearly who she was going to be as a player, and she never faltered. And it got her very far. And she probably gets even farther if Operation Italy doesn't happen, right? Like if there's no,
or if Rachel doesn't win that immunity.
Yeah, if Rachel doesn't win immunity, that doesn't happen because Rachel likely plays the idol, and they just take out like Sam or Genevieve. Yeah,
right. And I think that like that in and of itself is so unbelievably. If you are the part of the biggest, if you are the person who gets taken out of the biggest blind side of the season, you were a threat, and you were the player to watch, right? Like that is. And the only reason that you get taken out is because somebody else wins an immunity. I think it is not said enough how important it is and how meritable it is. Is that a word? Meritable, whatever.
It is now.
I know what you mean.
It is how much merit it is worth that even if you are a backup plan, if you're a backup plan because someone won immunity, you were the second threat. I fully believe. I think the best case scenario for me in this finale, like where I'm like creating and painting like a perfect finale, is Rachel versus Caroline versus Genevieve. I would have loved to watch that. The only
iconic
captain season though, like, hey, make it happen.
Well, the only reason, and the reason I'm actually happy is because I actually think Genevieve would have gotten roasted in that finale. I think she probably is the weakest. I think she's probably the weakest performer at a final tribal council, which is why it was important for her to not be there this time and then maybe come back and do it again, because I think that she probably gets roasted by Rachel and Caroline. But between Rachel and Caroline, I don't know who wins. Like, I don't know which of them I would put right now. And again, we saw a little bit more of Rachel, obviously, than Caroline, but I think that they were playing two very strong and two very different games. And depending on who's sitting in the jury, I mean, Dylan, when we were talking about who we thought was going to vote for who, we had a pretty wide variety of split votes, and it ended up being a 7-1 to 0.
So I predicted I think it was 6-2 or 7-1. You predicted a 4-3, but or a 5-4 or whatever. But we didn't realize those on the bubble votes weren't really on the bubble. Like Sierra, we thought could go any which way. Genevieve could go any which way. They weren't. Kyle was the one I thought was a definite Rachel. I thought, Kyle was a definite Rachel vote, and he's the only one who didn't. So it's very interesting. I do want to kind of just go player by player, though. Give them a letter grade for the season. Obviously, we don't have a ton of time. I want to get you all to bed, but I also want to take a brief second for each. Just give a letter grade and maybe a sentence as to why. And then we will also, you can also say likely, not likely, for returning for 50, or a must or a not at all. Like there's 4 quadrants. It's not likely, yes, or absolutely not. I think it would be just fun. We can just kind of go around the horn and oh nope, sorry.
Yes.
I
went
to
the wrong
folder.
Here. Must Angela. Have back.
I missed it. Come on, Angela.
All right. I'm going alphabetically, so I'll start. We'll go clockwise. But Mr. Andy, I think I'm gonna give him a B+. I thought he did a great job for what I thought he was going to be at the beginning of the season, and I think he is a definite for 50. Ingrid, what do you think?
I'm going to give him a solid B. I think that he definitely did better than I expected him to, but I also didn't really like him. So I'm going to say he's likely for 50, but I don't want him there.
Okay. Austin, what do you think?
I'm echoing you completely, Dylan. B+ must be on 50.
And Zach?
I'm going to give him a B. God, it's amazing that he got where he was, because it wasn't looking good. I think he is a likely for 50.
Okay. Next, we're going alphabetical. So, Annika, Ingrid, you start this one.
God, I feel like it's hard to give her a grade. I'm
on this particular season, not how well she would do on another season or anything, but this particular
I'm going to give her a C+, because I feel like she really got screwed over by a lot of different things that were beyond her control, but I also think that there are things that she could have done better.
Okay. And for 50? Zach, I'll put you up there so that
I don't see them bringing her back. I don't think it's likely for 50. Okay. I think maybe down the line, but I don't think it's likely.
Awesome. All right.
I'm giving her a D because she did something wrong to have them keep Andy over her. I don't know what it is, but she had to have done something for them to have seen more merit and more advantage in keeping Andy. So I'm going to give Annika a D. I'm going to give her an A+ for blindside reaction face.
Okay.
And I'm going to say we do not need her on 50.
Yeah, I'm going to, we're just going to keep it clockwise, Zach, but I'll go to you next. But I am going to go with a absolutely not for coming back for 50. Not because I don't want her, but it's not going to happen. But I do think blaming Sierra more for her blind side than herself, because I think Sierra was kind of in a tough spot, and she just went with Sam and Andy. So I don't necessarily blame Annika for that, though I do think, obviously there could have been something she did. She was the name tossed around in the first vote. So I'm going to give her a very low C-, but not a D. Zach?
A C-. I don't remember her. I know, obviously, I remember her, but I don't remember anything memorable. And she's a definitely not. We don't need her. Sorry. Love you.
Oh, love you, Annika. Asia, this is heartbreaking for me. Austin, go ahead.
As a person, she's an A+, but if we're talking about the season,
do it, Austin. Just do it. Rip the Band-Aid off.
I'm gonna give her a C.
Oh, okay.
I think
Favoritism.
No, because I think a big part of where she lacks is that Rome finds stuff, and I think that does nudge everyone away from her and Saul and more into their own little foursome over in the Rome camp. So I think like had she found something instead of Rome, it might help her out more. So I'm going to give her a C because I don't think she actively upset anyone on her tribe or went out of her way in if we just revert back to Annika was kind of annoying to some of the other people. Asia wasn't like that. She was just weaker in challenges between her and Saul, and that's why she goes instead of him. Yeah. And she's not likely.
No, I don't think she's coming back for 50. I would give her like a D. I just don't think, I think while I do blame the advantages, for her being on the bottom, she also could have found her way out of it, is the thing. Teeny gave her every opportunity, and I feel like she didn't take that, but I do love her. Like, obviously, RHAP, like, love what she's doing and hope to see her again in some capacity somewhere else. But yeah, she's definitely not coming back, so I would give her a D. Zach, what do you think of Asia?
I'm gonna give her a C-, same as Annika. I think she is. Hear me out. I think she is likely to be a contender to come back because of who she is and because of her fan base. That being said, I personally don't need her again over a lot of other people who I think deserve an opportunity a lot more.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And Ingrid, I'm so sorry. We're both hidden, Ingrid, by this picture, but the way the graphic works, we can hear you.
Dylan, you said a lot of my thoughts as well. I'm giving her a D because there are ways that she gets out of that she doesn't take. You can
not according to exit interviews. There's not. That's
okay,
what I'm saying.
That's fair. That's fair. From what we saw on the show, though, yeah.
What I saw on the television show.
I'm just
So, like, there's the whole thing where it's like she doesn't turn against Saul, but Saul is willing to turn against her, and so like, what are they going to do? So I think that obviously there are she doesn't get like an F because I obviously feel like there are things that were out of her control, but I also think there was enough in her control that she could have done. And then I see Zach's point about like, they might consider her because of who she is, but I'm kind of in the same boat with Annika where it's like, maybe they come if the 50s become these like every other season, I could see her coming then, but not for 50.
Okay. Yep. You make a good point about exit interviews, Austin, because I haven't really thought much about that for some people. Yeah, that's a good point.
According to Genevieve's exit interview, Aisha was fucked. Sorry.
Yeah. And I think that is also due to going on the journey, which I can't remember if she volunteered for or if she just so that also could be part of it too. Like she could have just sealed her fate by being
never go on the journey, people. First, not the first one. You don't.
Especially not. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. We talked a lot about her. Caroline, I'll just kick it off right here. I think she played an A game. I think if the circumstances that went into getting her out of the game were so precise that she only goes home in that scenario. Any other scenario, she makes it through, and I think she likely makes it deep. And if she makes it to the end, I don't know how ruthless she would be at a final tribal. I kind of disagree there a little bit with what Zach said earlier, but I do think she would at least get some votes at the end. Like I think she'd be a runner-up at the least, the lowest floor for her is runner-up if she is able to survive Operation Italy. So I'm giving her an A. I think it's still not likely we see her for 50, though she's not in my immediate absolutely not, but I just think she's less likely because her personality is not quite as big, at least in the edit, as some of the others. Like she'd still got a bit of a quieter edit comparatively. So I'm gonna go not likely, but would love to see it, especially if it's like a second chance. Absolutely, but I don't think it's going to be directly second chance. Zach, thoughts on Caroline? Any last thoughts?
I don't think she would be ruthless at Final Tribal. I think she would put up a fight at Final Tribal. That's what I mean. I'm giving her an A+ because I had a lot of faith in Caroline right from the get. I love her as a player. I love her as a person. I think she was a huge get for the season. And again, that's crazy considering how many gets we have from this season. I give her an A+. I agree with you, Dylan. There's literally only that unique scenario that she goes out, and if it's not for that unique scenario, and I give her the A+ because I think she deserves it. I think there's only maybe one or two people on this cast who I think deserve the A+. So I will say I don't think she's a definite, but I think she's a high likelihood of receiving the call.
Okay, cool. Ingrid.
Yeah, I'm gonna give her an A. I think, like both of you have said, the stars just aligned in a bad way for her. In terms of when she goes out, I think that if she survives, there is a very high likelihood of her being at the end. And if she's at the end, she has high win equity depending on who she's sitting with. I think that one of the only people that gives her a run for her money is Rachel. And then in terms of returning, I want her to get the call. So I'm going to put her in the higher likelihood, but I do think that there are like 2 or 3 people from this season alone in front of her. So there is that she has going against her.
Caroline gives me alternate energy where like she could be an alternate and then sneak in last minute and then be like the Parvati or, someone that you don't really expect to be the beast of the season. But,
yeah, for sure.
Austin, what do you think?
I'm going to keep it short and quick because I yapped for way too long about Aisha, and this is
we each get our soapbox. We each get our soapbox. It's okay.
Caroline, A, maybe even A+. The one thing I want to bring up about her is Entertainment Weekly did like an interview with all the jurors going into the finale, and one of the questions was which person at Ponderosa do you think played the best game, and almost unanimously every juror said her. After she got there and like explained her game. So that's why I say maybe even A+. And I don't think it's likely she's on 50, but I think she should be.
There you go. All right. I know, Zach. I agree. I think she had a good shot.
I love her. God, she's so wonderful.
My pushback is that I just don't know if Genevieve would have been that easy a beat if it's the 3 of them in the end. But we'll talk about her in a sec. We got to get to another G.
Really, the last thing on Caroline, I think what struggles to get her on 50 is I think she's not super magnetic to the camera.
Yeah, that's fair. Speaking of magnetic to the camera, speaking of someone who said, quote, I will be back, Gabe, I believe I start with Gabe. No, Austin was the last one to talk with Caroline. So, Zach, you will start with Gabe.
C+. No, C. Really, like, high intensity, like, early game. Had a lot of, like, pretty good moments early on where I was like, he could get far, and I could see a world where he wins. And then it just got messier and messier and messier and messier. And his exit is I think sort of the nail in the coffin of no, Gabe, no, you won't be back for 50. Sorry, bud. I'm gonna give him a C and a no.
All right, Ingrid.
First of all, Baltimore. Period. He's so hard for me to assess. I feel like there's so much that I didn't see about him. But with that being said, I'm gonna put him at like a C+. I think that he had so much control over his original tribe, which is something worth mentioning. But I do agree with Zach that like things fell apart for him really fast. And for somebody like Caroline to be his undoing is very satisfying. But yeah, I think there are far too many people ahead of him for a 47 player slot on 50. I don't think it's impossible that we ever see him again, but I don't think it's happening for 50.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. I'm gonna give him a B, maybe a B-. I think he's the second best player on his tribe, on his starting tribe.
That's fair.
I would agree with that.
I think putting him as a C might be a little low. I think he would benefit from a different season. I think if you put him on almost any of the others, 41 through 46, he does really well and has a really good shape. Like I think,
especially like a 41.
Yeah, like I think 45 might be his toughest, 44 and 45. But the other ones, I think he's someone that makes a even deeper run on a different season with different people.
I'd like to see him and Jesse on the same beach.
Yeah, so I'm actually gonna say that it might be kind of likely. I think Jeff liked him. I think he brings a different personality than what you're gonna get from a lot of the other people you're bringing back.
That's true.
With his whole, he's very this is business type guy, and I don't think we're gonna get a ton of those I don't think we have a ton of those in the new era.
Kumbaya.
Yeah.
He definitely sticks out, but I also think like it feels so disingenuous, honestly. Like I think I think he's unlikely for 50, but not impossible for all the things you said. But I do think, like for me, he's getting a C+. I do think he's the second best player, as Austin said, on that tribe. I think his tribe game was almost like an A. Like he had that so assembled that even if they went to a tie, Tiana would flip and get TK out before anything would happen to Gabe. And then even in another vote, like when Rachel leaves that tribe, like Gabe's not in danger. I think that's the thing is like Gabe was always protected because he had a solid number, but I think he's always someone who at the merge would always fall apart because he's not really good at creating new bonds, at least as far as we've seen. I just don't see a world where Gabe makes it far in many seasons. I think he's always a merge out in my opinion. Yeah. So I'm going to say C+.
He so badly wanted to be the villain. And you know what? There is merit, and I'm sure he's not the first. He won't be the last. But like, if you're going to try that hard to be the villain, you got to be able to back it up with like the gameplay that's interesting enough to boot with it. And I thought again, tribe, great. Individual.
Yeah. I'm gonna
sucks at managing his threat level. Also,
I'm gonna try something only because Austin shifted his camera. I'm gonna put you all there. There we go. Now,
see on our screen now. Ingrid's covered.
Oh, really?
That's why I moved it that way.
Oh shoot. Okay. Well, let me just show you really quick on my on the YouTube. Now you're both shown. You're both like.
Oh wow. Oh okay. So it's flipped for. Okay. Well then.
Oh weird. Okay. Would you like to go back?
No, we're fine.
Yeah.
Dylan, okay. Dylan, put me where
you are. Here, look.
Dylan, put me where you are.
Put us back.
Yeah. What happens if you do that?
Put us back.
Now you're both covered.
Put us back.
No, now just off covered.
Switch me and Zach again.
Is that better?
Ah, look at us.
Okay, it's fine. We're just gonna stay right here in the middle.
It's whatever.
Back to
now we can see you. I don't know. I want to get you. You're our guest. I want to make sure you're on screen. I'll do these graphics better next time. Genevieve. Ingrid, you start with Genevieve.
I'm gonna give her a B+. That might be controversial, but I think
controversially good or controversially bad.
Bad. Okay. I feel like people are obsessed with her. But like. I feel like there are times where she makes the move for the sake of making the move rather than making the move that's going to better her game. Like I think there are so many times in the game where she's like in a world of hurt and like scrambling from the bottom because of things that she decided she wanted to do rather than like the game happening around her and her having to like come back from those circumstances. She is the reason that Rome goes home. She is the reason that Keyshawn goes home. She's the one putting that in people's heads that should happen or allowing that to happen. And then like being in a place that is worse off. And then obviously like she's kind of the final boss for Rachel in a few ways, but like, even then I don't think it's enough. So yeah. In terms of return likelihood, I think it's high. Mm-hmm. I think that the producers and the fans both really like her and want to see her back. I don't know that she does well though, personally.
Okay. Interesting. She was someone we were all very down on preseason, at least here. Like we didn't. I mean, in the draft, we didn't draft her until the very end. She was the last pick, and I think going in preseason, Zach and I were both like, "Yeah, no, there's no way." So I think she surprised us there. But Austin, what are your thoughts on Genevieve?
I'm torn between B+, A-, all the same reasons Ingrid did. I think give her a plan, have her execute it, A+. But again, it's should that plan be executed? And I think that's where the judgment on Genevieve's end is wrong. Like, I don't think it was good to get rid of Saul when she did. I don't think it was good to get rid of Keyshawn. There are moments that like I just don't think I agree with Ingrid. She made a big move to make a big move. I think it's highly likely, and I hope that I think that's what she learns from playing 47 to come back. I hope she learns like, all right, I'm capable of doing the big move. Let me be better at timing it or be better at what it should be.
My concern is that people will target her early because of her reputation coming from 47.
That's fair. I don't think it's controversial, Ingrid, because I'm also going to give her a B+. I will say it right now. She is my favorite player on the season. I loved watching her the most. She's the person I want to see most on 50 because I just love watching her operate. Like Austin said, you give her a plan, she's going to execute it perfectly. Everything she executed was perfect. But Austin, you also said it best too. Like, I mean, what she was doing was not optimal for her in this game. She's someone that I think as a player I would give an A, but on this particular season, she's a B+. I think she played worse than she actually is at the game of Survivor. I think she's a better Survivor player than this season her game showed. And I really do think if she comes back, we could see like a, not necessarily a Kim Spradlin, like dominant, but like someone who just like somehow has that missed. You know, we brought it up with Parvati, we bring it up with Saria. I'm not saying she's that level yet, but like she's someone who I feel like could still have that miss to where like she gets to the end and everyone's like, how did she get this far? It's like Kim Spradlin on Winners Awards. Like, how is she in our final 7? Like, you know, I think that's the thing, is she's just so savvy and charismatic, and she's someone kind of, when Zach was saying earlier, this is my soapbox, so I'm going to take a little extra time for this one particularly. I'll be short on the rest, but because it's my favorite player. But Zach was saying like I think she has a tougher time than Rachel and Caroline if it's the three of them against each other. I actually disagree, only because I think, you know, watching her interviews, I have a little bit of a mist when I watch her. Like, she's so bubbly and charismatic. She has that smile that can really disarm you. And I really do think she would find a way to be cutthroat enough to where she might say something and go for the jugular with Caroline or Rachel where they can't recover in a way that Sam did. But I feel like she'd actually have the stuff to back it up. That being said, I think the Saul move was very dumb. But I think the most fascinating part of Genevieve's game was watching her play from the bottom, and I think the most interesting stuff of her game came right after the Saul boot through Operation Italy into especially the finale with the fake idol stuff. Like, that was really savvy, and I really do think, you know, there's a reason, you know, Teeny kind of the fans turned on them, because I think Genevieve got into their head, and I think that's something to say about Genevieve's power. I think she's a great Survivor villain. I would love to see her back. I think she's highly likely for 50, but not a guarantee, only because there's so many good players. Zach, really quickly, Genevieve.
B+, great strategic game, not as good of a social game. What I mean by that is would strategize, pull it off, and then kind of give herself away.
Okay.
And that for me is the reason that she doesn't hit the A range, is because great player. Again, I think you said it perfectly. Better Survivor player than she was this season. Like, she is a better player than she was during this season. And she was great this season. So I think that if she had the opportunity to come back, I think she's highly likely. But I do think that there are people ahead of her. I think she has a good second out.
Okay. Sorry. Oh, you mid yawn. You're good. Let's move on though, because we have to get through some of these, but we're gonna go through some pre-mergers right now a little bit quicker. Austin, talk about John Levitt.
A+, bring him back. I'm kidding. He's probably like a D, not likely to come back, though I would not be mad at it because I do like him a lot.
Yeah, I would probably go more like a D+, C-, only because like I just don't know. I feel like that first boot was so weird because of the Andy of it all. Like, I really think he's a good person for the well equipped for the game, just not on the right tribe. I think that's really what it was. And I honestly think it's likely he'll get a call for a future season, just not 50. I think we'll see him again on Survivor, just maybe not 50. That's my guess. Zach.
C-, B+. Don't really know what he could do. I don't know what he can do. I would like to see if and they clearly want him back. I don't think it'll be 50, but I think he'll get like a second chances sort of thing.
Maybe Bruce him and bring him back on like 48, you know?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
I know he's not on 48. It's already aired, or it's filmed and edited.
Well, yes, but like a 49.
Yeah. Ingrid?
Yeah, a lot of the things you said I agree with. D+, C-. I think he's on the wrong tribe. I think that you can't predict Andy. And so I think that really screws him over, and I think that he has a lot of potential. And I agree that I don't think he'll be back for 50, but I could definitely see him coming back after 50 at some point.
Gotcha. All right. Let's move on to Keyshawn. I'll start it off with Keyshawn. I think he is a very savvy player. I just think he was on a bad tribe for him, and I really don't think he did anything that wrong, honestly. I'm going to give him a B+. I think he was solid. I'm going to give him a B because I give Genevieve a B+, and Genevieve did outsmart him. But I do think, honestly, on his tribe, of anyone I have confidence in doing well another time, it's Genevieve. And then it's probably Keyshawn. Just I think he's very well-rounded. I don't see many flaws of his game except for being a little cocky. But then again, this is a tribe of egos, so I don't really think there's much to blame for that. I think that Red Tribe actually has some really good potential players to come back. So I'm going to give him a B. I don't think he's going to get the call, though. I think he's an absolute no for 50. I just don't think he was one of the big moments. Like, unless they do like a Rivals Blindsides type theme where they bring him and Genevieve back, I don't think it would happen. Zach?
C plus, B minus. Would love to have seen more of him and Teeny as they continued through this. And I think that his departure is sort of Teeny's undoing from the standpoint of like, that's kind of where it all falls apart for them. Not likely for 50, but I would like to see him come back. I feel like he had good momentum going. He gets Genevieve, and that's a hard thing to have happening.
Ingrid?
Yeah, I love Keyshawn. I smiled when you put his picture up. I'm going to give him a B minus because I gave Genevieve a B plus, similarly to you, where like she has to be a little bit better than him because she outmaneuvered him. But he did very little wrong, in my opinion. And I think there's a world where he comes back, maybe not for 50, but later on, because they made so much of Keyshawn part of Genevieve's story.
Right.
They like every time I forgot about Keyshawn, she was talking about him. And so like I think that them doing that potentially puts him in our minds in the future. Right. I just don't think for 50.
Gotcha. Austin?
I'm gonna give him a C, maybe a C minus. I think Keyshawn's great. I think he has good game instincts. I disagree that he didn't do anything wrong. I think telling Rome that Genevieve is a name out there is a terrible idea. Like just the unpredictability of Rome plus how close Rome is with Genevieve. Like I think that was bad. Especially not running it by her first. And I think that's what triggers her to be like, oh, Keyshawn needs to be the plan. So that's why I'm going to give him a C minus. I would have said not likely to come back, but with Ingrid's thing, I agree. Maybe not a 50, and maybe this even makes Genevieve not a 50 person. But I could see them doing some sort of like how the challenge does like Rivals.
Right.
Like if they wanted to do something similar to that in Survivor, I could see like Keyshawn and Genevieve being brought back on the same season.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Like
I'd be down for it.
Rematch.
Yeah. Cool. Speaking of rivals, I mean, who is Sue's biggest rival? Right here, it's Kyle. Zach, what do you think of Tweedledee? Or Tweedledum?
I mean, for his immunities alone, it's got to be at least a B. I'll give him a B minus. Almost no strategic game. All physical. Some okay social. I won't say it's highly unlikely. Maybe for 50, highly unlikely, but I think that Jeff loves him some Kyle. So I think he'll be on like a fan favorites at some point. I like Kyle. Yep.
Okay. Ingrid.
I'm in a similar boat. I'm going to give him like a C though. I think physically, obviously he does well. There's something so charming about Kyle. I also love me some Kyle. From his when TK goes home to like the way that he goes out and everything in between, like he's so likable. And I think that could serve him well in the future if he were to come back. I just think like, yes, there's the immunity thing, but I also feel like he didn't win that many immunities. Like they got like he won 2, right? Like they got really
2, and then the third one was like a pseudo immunity win because of it was the team one, and so
right,
he didn't win the challenge,
so,
but he won his immunity.
Right, but like I feel like as a tribe, they were like so focused on him for like no reason really. But I mean, that's why it's kind of in the middle for me. But similarly to Zach, I don't think he's in for 50, but I do think we could see him back.
Yeah.
All right, Austin.
I'm gonna give him a B minus. Like I think his social game is a lot better than maybe what Zach was giving it credit for. I think really the only place Kyle falters is with Sue, and Caroline to an extent.
I don't think he was
by
ever getting
attention.
that back.
I don't think that's true, but I love you.
I think. I mean, it depends. Like, I guess it depends on what exactly you're defining as social game. Like, I think in terms of like everyone on that island except for I think Rome, Sue, Caroline loved Kyle.
Well, yeah, I think that's because he had no threat level other than being a physical threat.
Okay, but anyway, like I agree with Ingrid. I think there's that whole like there's that southern charm to him.
Yes, I agree with that though.
So that's why I'm going to give him a B. I think. Just in physical and B minus physical social he doesn't have the strategic not likely to come back.
Yeah, I'm gonna give him a C. I'm gonna give him a C minus. I just really don't like Kyle's game. I think he's someone who has always placed in the bottom and doesn't do anything actively to try to get himself at the top. I think he just relies on an oh shucks, well, hope I win. And I just feel like that's not the way to play. Like even the next person we're gonna talk about won a lot of challenges to help secure their spot, but at least they were good without the challenge wins. And I think that's the problem with Kyle is like he coasted on his challenge wins, and the 3 times he was vulnerable, one his best friend TK goes home, the second one he skates by the skin of his teeth, and the third one he goes home. So I don't know. I'm not impressed by his game, but I do think it's likely he'll get a call. I don't know if he'll be on 50, but I think he's definitely getting a call because I think Zach's right. I think Jeff loves him some Kyle. So next challenge beast, we've already talked ad nauseum about her, but we'll talk really quickly about Rachel. I forget who I started with last time. I think it was Zach. So I think we're starting with Ingrid this time. Really quick, Rachel.
My girl, I'm so proud of her. I'm going to give her the A+ because she won, and I think she did a lot right with what she was given. Luck is a part of Survivor. Get over it.
I agree.
Boom. At the same time, I don't think she's likely to come back because she won. I think if she didn't win or if she goes out in fire, there's a chance that you would see her return. But I think her winning kind of closes her story a little bit. It's not impossible, but I think it's highly unlikely.
All right. Awesome.
Yeah. A+. She's the winner. I stand firmly by the person who wins played the best game. So A+ for Rachel. I'm going to say not likely to come back, not because they wouldn't want her. I feel like Rachel is the type of person who probably doesn't want to do it again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like I could really see Rachel being like, I went out there, I won, I'm good.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't.
Especially if you can't steal rice in your pockets, like what's the point?
Yeah, like I think Rachel's good. Like
underrated character.
I think if they're bringing winners back, she'll get the call, but I don't know if she says yes.
Yeah, I also don't think she's on their top list of winners. I think it's Jam, D, and then you go to Marianne, and then like I think after that,
I think Rachel's next.
I think Rachel's probably next. I mean, Kenzie would probably be next, but she doesn't want to do it at all.
Yeah,
I think Rachel would be next. Then they would call Gabler. Then they would call Erica. That's probably the order they.
Call Erica before Gabler. What?
I think they would call Erica.
I think they would call Erica first.
I don't. I mean, look who was on 40 on Jeff's Mount Rushmore. It was like Parvati, Boston Rob, it was Tony, and it was Ben. Or Sandra, it was Ben. I don't remember, but Ben was on there. So I don't know.
Was on there for sure,
I'll just say right now, Rachel. Yeah, I'm not giving her the A+. Even I'm giving her an A. She's the top rated player. Her and Caroline are getting A's for me. She did win, but I also, again, like luck is totally part of the game, obviously, but it is also one of those things where like a lot of things worked out very conveniently. That is luck, obviously. But I also think like the fact that she had to play her idol shows that she was at least a big enough threat that like I feel like other players that we've seen like D, like Jam, they didn't even need to worry about that. Whereas Rachel still was the biggest target at 5, and if she doesn't have an idol, she's an easy boot. I think the luck aspect of it, of like getting the advantage from Saul, is 100% not to blame her for, because also she was swap screwed, so it's not even like she put herself in that position. For me, it's the having to play the idol shows that you are at least not managing your threat level perfectly to where she was the biggest threat at that point. That's why I'm giving her the A, not the A+, but I think she's great. I think she's not likely to return to the game of Survivor for all the reasons you guys have said. Zach, what do you say about Rachel?
I think you're wrong. It's an A+. Though I will say I teetered along with the reason for me why I would give her the A if I was giving her the A is because of her final tribal performance. The only reason I'm not 100% set on that is because A, she still won with a landslide majority, and we've said it before, we don't know if she can necessarily, like, if we can just trust the edit, because I'm sure there's a lot of that final tribal council we missed. So I'm going to give her the A+. I'm with you, Austin. I stand by, except for 43, that the winner played the best game, and they deserve the A+. But I also just think that Rachel's story, the whole show, I think she might be the first time that I've ever caught the winner quote and been like, huh. Because I remember I was sitting with McKenna Schulte at in our Airbnb in Boston, and I remember watching the episode and her saying, "I don't want to be steering the ship. I want to be the ocean underneath." And I went, "That's a winner quote. That's a winner quote. That's a winner quote." And it was the episode that she found the idol, and I said, "That's a winner quote. Oh my god, that's a winner quote." And so
baby's first magic. I love it.
I thought it was so fun. And I love her as a winner. I think she's not likely. For all of your reasons, I don't think she's like first on their list. But also, I don't think take the million and run.
Right.
Take it and run.
Yeah. All you could do is further ruin your reputation, unless you're Sandra or Tony, and even Tony took a little while to get it back. Alrighty, Rome, Austin, go ahead.
This guy.
Is he watching this time? Hold on.
No, he's not. He's not.
Last time I said some not nice stuff, and then he ended up watching.
Yeah,
he still watched the week after, so you didn't turn him off. F. Okay, failed at the Game of Survivor.
Okay. No, I can't be an F because he didn't just get voted out. D plus. I can't go higher than a D plus.
It's okay.
Like, this man is never winning the Game of Survivor. Never. Like, even the people that we've talked about, like the Annikas, the Aishas, like, there's a world where they can. This man is never winning Survivor. It's not happening. And I am going to say no shot in hell this man comes back. Simply because of the
he spoiled the boot
list.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's behind the scenes stuff. I think until then, he was actually a guaranteed lock to return on a future season. Yeah. Not necessarily 50, but like definitely come back in another season. I think after leaking the boot list, and like people are gonna say it was a coincidence. It was not a coincidence. He got one wrong. Like he went in the order of how they were booted. Even if he wasn't intentionally being like, I'm gonna spoil it, he still spoiled it one way or the other. So he's not getting a call back. He might be on a different show. Like I see him on The Challenge, like becoming like the Josh Martinez type thing of like just like chaotic reality TV villain. But yeah, I'm gonna give it a D-.
House of Villain, season 3.
Yeah, there you go. I'm giving it a D-. I think he did everything wrong, but he didn't fail the game because he did last few rounds where like he actively put in play. But I always thought he was aided by the help of Genevieve or by Saul in the opposite way of like, because he was so hyper fixated on Saul and Keyshawn and Teeny. So like, I don't think he did anything to merit his own success in the game. And he did all the stuff in getting him out of the game. Like he aided 100% in his boot. He didn't have to go that round. There's a way to play that round where you don't go home, and he made it the easiest boot, consensus boot too. All right, Zach, what do you think?
Rome, turn away, look away, don't listen to this. We love you. Okay, he's gone. It's a D-. With like a really like, I'm thinking about the F.
I'm saving my F.
Great TV, really, really great TV. I understand his casting. You know what? And I think that's also why I don't give him the F, is because I understand why he's on the show.
Yeah, he's great TV.
I do agree, Austin. I think he is the only person on this cast with absolutely no merit to probably ever be able to win the Game of Survivor, because he just can't help how much he loves the fact that he's Rome and thinks that he's the best person. But I think I agree. I think he was a lock and he ruined it, and that is just crazy. I think that just sucks. You can't fumble a bag that hard, man. Well, maybe one day you can come on and you can talk all about it, and you can tell us everything that you want to talk about. But I am sad to say, sorry, Rome. My bad.
It's okay. Ingrid, any last thoughts on Rome?
I'm gonna give him a full D.
Okay. Yeah, you give him that D.
I need you all to know that right before I started talking, Austin checked again to make sure that Rome was not here.
But, comments one more time.
Listen, even if he was, I feel like Rome's someone who would take it like a champ.
Yeah, like, I feel like
he's gotta get
loves
it.
attention.
I think he's fine.
God, he's so bad at Survivor.
Yeah, it's really bad.
He's
Oh,
so
Dylan.
good at ruining shit for himself because, like Zach said, he ruined his shot at being back. Because I completely agree. Jeff loved him.
Yep.
He had him sit in the chair.
Like Jeff absolutely loved him. I think he would have been a lock if he didn't basically break his NDA. And he's so bad at Survivor. There's not much else I can say, but
it's okay. We love Rome as a character.
He survived a couple rounds, and that's all I can give him is that he survived a couple rounds.
Definitely a main character of the season. First half of the season. Another main character, most confessionals of the season, Sam. I get to start with Sam. I thought he played a great first half of the game. I think once he got to the merge, it kind of fell apart for him, but it was like Genevieve, fun to watch him play from the bottom. And I never really thought that he was in danger. He always felt like a contingency plan. But as we saw last year with Q, contingency plans can go home eventually. I just think he got lucky. But I'm going to give him a solid B. I thought he played a good game. I just don't think it didn't impress me all that much, but he was such an intriguing persona and character that I still wanted to see him play, and I'm glad he made it as far as he did. I think he's very likely to get the call. I don't know if it's a lock that we'll see him on 50, but I still think they're going to give him the call. I mean, you don't get the most confessionals in the season by happenstance, so I think that's something to look into. If anything, maybe he's the On Fire podcast co-host next year. That would not surprise me at all.
I think it's Genevieve, but keep going.
It could be Genevieve. I would love to see it be Genevieve as well. But yeah, I think those two are the ones that Jeff is like, oh, let's get him on the mic. But they also might be alternating in gender, so that might also be why they don't go Charlie then Sam for On Fire. Maybe they diversified a bit. But likely to get the call. Maybe not likely to return right away at least. But there are a lot of themes I could also see him fitting in as well. Zach, thoughts on Sam?
B+. I texted Haley Keener during Final Tribal Council, and I went, "Oh, this is what it's like when I speak." I just feel that look at us, right? How does he?
Screenshot it.
Incredible.
I think he's a great player. I think there were a lot of moments where his arrogance could have gotten the best of him. And it almost did, but he always reined it back in one way or another, which I think is a very impressive thing to do. And also, I mean it. I thought there was a point where he had switched people's votes during Final Tribal Council, which is, again, why I still think there's maybe things we didn't see and probably conversations. But I also still stand by a lot of the conversations that, I think if Andy's not on that jury and maybe sitting next to him instead, there's different feelings from the jury. Which would be a very interesting thing to see. I think he's likely, and I might lock him in as one of my definites. Just from how we were talking about it before, I think so many good quotes from the season from him. Just like a really good character, probably one of my favorite characters of the new era. Period. Right now.
Nice.
Great.
Ingrid, thoughts on Sam?
I'm gonna give him an A, and the reason I'm giving him an A is because I gave Genevieve a B+, and I think he is slightly better than her.
Okay.
And the reason is because that's all planned out, as you can see in the way I'm speaking. The reason is because we talk about he obviously had a fantastic pre-merge game. While I do think he got lucky a couple times with certain things. But then obviously him and Genevieve both play from the bottom for a good chunk of the merge. The difference is that she put herself there. He did not. Things happened around him, and he did what he could to bounce back from that. And I think that there are scenarios in which he wins the game. I think there are scenarios in which he gets closer to Rachel in certain worlds. Not the one we live in, but there was a time where I also thought that he was at least getting more votes than what he got. The other thing is I'm a weirdo and I look up how old people are on Survivor because it's interesting to me. Sam and I are the same age, which is mind-boggling to me. But both of us were also born the same year as Teeny. And I think that's very interesting because people talk a lot about, and I know we'll probably talk about Teeny in a second, but people talk a lot about Teeny being like young and immature and having like that kind of like youthful gameplay to them. But I don't think Sam has that, despite them being very close in age, and I find that very interesting. So I just wanted to say that. And I do think that there's a high likelihood that he returns, whether it's on 50 or beyond.
All right. Awesome.
I'm giving him an A-, I think, somewhere in there. I'm going to go slightly under what Ingrid said because I think there is some of his own doing to it. Like, I think him and Sierra very much put that target on themselves. And I think he gets kind of lucky that it's Sierra that they boot instead of him. And in that, I think that is him putting himself on the bottom. Like, I think him and Sierra making themselves such an obvious pair is what put him on the bottom. So I don't necessarily think it was completely out of his control. But again, I think he absolutely dominated. Like, the fact that he was able to keep Andy for that long. Like, that's all Sam. Like, Andy making as far in that 100%. Game as it does is because Sam
refuses to
let him go. So like I know I think Sam is a phenomenal player. Cool. I don't think he did quite as good as Rachel, and obviously that showed. I think there's like I think it's got to be part of the social game that's missing. Like just in terms of like against Rachel.
Right.
Because like what you don't hear, you hear of Sam in this. All right, sorry, really quick, because this is my brain just got really confused, and this was my whole thing during the season too. We get to this point where we have this underdog alliance of 5 versus this 3 like front runners, and I don't know how Sam got there. Like at that point in the game, I don't know how Sam is in this and Rachel's in this.
Yeah, probably because that was right after Kyle and Gabe went, right?
Well, yeah, but
I think
prior
he's still
to this,
perceived as the leader of that original tribe.
But the issue is prior to this moment, prior to this 5-3 moment, Rachel has already been called out as the most dangerous player in the game by multiple people. Both Genevieve and Caroline have called her out as the most dangerous player in the game. And she's in the underdog alliance now. And not excluded as a front runner. Whereas Sam has now been thrown to the bottom and not really done much the past 3 votes.
Like I think that he's still perceived as the leader of his original tribe.
I think he's just perceived as strong man.
I think that he's
that's it too, yeah.
As strong man, and I think that in some ways with this particular cast that hurts him.
Yeah.
In terms of social stuff.
So anyway, A-. I don't know if he's a 50. I think he's coming back at some point. I don't think it's 50.
All right. Let's move on to his girlfriend. Just kidding. I know she's having a baby. She's expecting. I saw the gender reveal.
I know that.
Yeah. Sierra.
Very exciting.
Zach, what do you think of Sierra?
Grade B.
Okay.
Virgin, I'm like B-. I think that I have been battling back and forth trying to determine whether I think Sam is a monumental part of her game in the way that like it's Sam or it's just that it's what is basically, and this isn't who they are, but like the popular girl and the popular boy, like would it just have been anyone and that would have been their pairing, or is it because it's Sam? You know what I mean? Like their personality.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Because I think that has a big determining factor with how much I think, like, if she would be able to do that with anybody, then I think she is a really, really great player. Because knowing your type and kind of pushing yourself with someone, yeah, it was her undoing, but it was also the reason she was able to push herself the way that she was. And again, it's only in a final push of like it should, for all intents and purposes, it should have been Sam that night. I said that during the episode. I said it should have been Sam. I don't know why they picked her. Because I thought she was doing a much better job at covering her threat level. I thought she was doing a much better job than him at appearing like, oh no, like, I said, like, Sam is going to be a problem the farther you let him get. And I still believe that. I think she was doing a better job, and I think she got
mm-hmm.
whether her own fault or someone else's. I can't really say.
Gotcha.
I think she has a likelihood of being asked back. I don't think 50 is her season. I would love to see a duos with like her and Sam at some point. I think that would be really, I think it would just be a cool callback to the fact that like they were paired together in this, like, are you guys dating? And obviously that's not true. She's about to be a mother, which is awesome. But they are so not with each other. And yet they were such a great pair, and they were paired together whether they liked it or not.
Yeah. Alrighty. Ingrid, thoughts on Sierra?
I'm gonna give Sierra a B-. I think she's a great social player. I think that she had better relationships with people than Sam did for a lot of the game that she's there. But I also think that it was a #Q big mistake to get rid of Annika over Andy. And I think that really does not set her up well moving forward. Regardless of the like,
I saw you.
Regardless of like where they all end up, I think that first of all, Andy is always more loyal to Sam than he is to Sierra every single day of the week.
Always. That was always true.
Like every single day of the week, she actively got rid of the person.
I'm gonna drop a bomb on my turn, y'all.
That was more loyal to her than the other person that would have been more loyal to Sam. Like she actively made a decision that I don't think was the optimal decision for her. And I think that does hurt her in the end. I think that there are things that could have been very different if she did not do that. But I do think that she has really great social capital. I think that she has the ability to go far on any given season. Returning, I don't know. Like we've said, she's pregnant right now. I think that really hurts her chances in terms of when she gives birth, being a new mother, things like that. Obviously, I think that's going to make it hard for her to return.
Yeah, leave dad the baby and go to Fiji.
Yeah, I don't think it's possible down the line, but I think it's the same thing that like screwed somebody like Angelina over when they were considering 40.
Oh yes. All right. Awesome.
All right, get ready for the bomb, everyone.
It's either an A+ or an F.
No. That I'm going to talk about a different point. Whatever I gave Kyle, because I can't remember, I think it was a B-.
B-.
I'm giving Sierra a bump above that. Maybe 2. So B+ is where I'm going to go with Sierra. I don't fault her for the Annika round. She had no control. She could not have kept Annika if she wanted to. Annika did not have a vote. The most she could have done is tied the vote, and Sam wasn't letting that happen. Sam was keeping Andy that round. That's my thing. Like, we talk about it was a mistake for her to get rid of Annika. She did not, I don't believe, had a choice in Annika staying
I don't
or
think she
going.
fought hard enough for her.
And but I don't think Sam was going to let it anyway. I think Sam was keeping Andy there every day of the week because just like it's bad for her to get rid of Annika, it was bad for Sam to get rid of Andy. And Sam is the one who has his vote and Andy's vote that automatically is going to make a tie. The most she can do is force a tie with Rachel.
All right.
And then potentially she goes home.
Yeah, that's true.
Or if she pushes back too hard, Sam's just like, okay, and then plays the idol on Andy. And makes sure Annika goes anyway. So, like, I don't think Sierra could have kept Annika. But I agree. Annika going is super bad for Rachel. Or, sorry, for Sierra.
Yeah.
It's not bad for Rachel.
It's not bad for Rachel at all. It actually, if anything, it helps Rachel become this underdog. But yeah, no, I agree with you that it's super bad that Annika goes for Sierra. But I don't fault Sierra for it at all. Okay. And yeah, I agree with Zach. I don't know why she goes instead of Sam.
Does she go to 50 though? Also,
yeah.
Does she get a call to 50?
She's not coming back to 50.
All right. I'm going to drop a little bit of a bomb. I wrote down D+, but I've been swayed to a C-. Here's why.
What?
Okay. If C is an average player, she is a below average player. I'm giving her a C-. But here's the thing. I think, yes, it's not her fault that Annika goes home, but I also think that could have been around. Why not try to get out Sam? Try to get out Andy. Say, hey, Andy, Sam's been hiding the idol from you, and get Rachel and vote out Sam. Because honestly, if Annika's coming back and saying you're being looked at as a couple, my immediate thought is I got to get that guy out. Not I got to get Andy out. I think that is her biggest thing, is not even targeting Sam. And then at the merge, when you are with everyone, then why not flip on Sam? I think the problem is that after that happened, it wasn't that she went out, voted out Annika. With the lost vote, there was really nothing she could do. It's the fact that when they got to the merge, she then still couldn't separate herself from Sam, and that was her undoing. It was just that she knew.
I'll agree with that point.
The whole thing is she knew that people were looking at her as a pair. So why not separate yourself from that? Because that's the problem, is once people view you as a pair, they got to split you up. And that's kind of what Caroline was feeling with Gabe and Sue. And she knew the right time to get rid of Gabe because of that. So I'm going to give her a C-. I think she played a below average game. The only thing is, like, she played really well in that pre-merge up until, like, she got herself in that position because she was good at bonds and she had a lot of control. But I know we got to fly through this. So let me just say, not come back from 50 at all. Let's go to Saul. I know a lot of people probably have a lot of words on Saul, but we got to kind of speed this up. We have 5 people left. So we got to speed it up. This whole one sentence per person thing is not working too well, but we're going to try our best. All right. Who's starting with
Ingrid's turn.
Ingrid's turn. Go ahead with Saul.
Yeah, he's great. I don't know why he's great. He just is. Like, he has no reason when you come in to be like, oh yeah, he's awesome. But like, he just is. I grade
it's the easiest
C.
one.
I don't know. Like, he's so shut your mouth. He's so like. And maybe it's because I missed these. Maybe it's because I missed Austin. Like, I feel like he didn't really like do anything outside of saving Rachel. Like, I feel like he doesn't really get the opportunity to do much because of his positioning in the game. I'm not saying that he could never do well. I just don't think he did that great this time. And like, I think he was a victim of circumstance a lot of the time, but wasn't able to bounce back from that as well as other people. I would love to see him back. I don't think he will be back, at least not for 50.
Okay. Austin, go ahead.
Plus.
You are
what? A plus. What? No, sorry. I'm not gonna actually give him an A plus. I'm still gonna give him an A. A or A minus.
There's no reason. Because
Genevieve flat out says that he was the best player in the game, and that's why she took him out when she did. We just talked about how that was dumb. Well, no. But Genevieve has stated, and people have like backed her up on this, that if Saul gets a round or two more, and this is why she says this happens, why she takes him out when she does. And I still don't agree that it's good for her. I think it was really good for other people. Because I do agree with this. Saul was so magnetic. Saul was very intelligent. And Saul was getting to the position where if you didn't take him out, he was never going. No one was ever taking that shot at Saul.
Except for Rome. But Rome.
Except for Rome, who lost the battle to Saul.
Right.
And
he kind of jumped on top of the sword himself.
But so, yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go with A minus on Saul.
Okay.
Or maybe even B plus. I'll lower it. I know my
you went from A plus to A minus to B.
Well, the A plus was always a joke. But a B plus is the lowest I'll go for him. I think the reason I just switched from A to B is I do think he should have passed. I think he should have given the advantage to Tiana and not Rachel.
Yeah, like let that be.
That's where I think he slipped up. Not because I don't think Rachel goes if he does that.
Oh, interesting.
I think Tiana will get it early enough to know that she's going to pick a block of vote, and in that scenario,
Caroline might flip,
either she can get Caroline or Kyle to potentially flip, and all they have to do is make sure Sue doesn't play the idol. That's a big make sure Sue doesn't play the idol. But I think there's a world where both Tiana and Rachel can survive that, and that's both of those things are good for Saul.
All right, very interesting. Cool. And does he come back for 50, Austin?
Oh God, I hope. Probably not. I'd love it.
I would love it too.
Sometime.
I think he'll come back at some point. I really
Saul
do.
the traitors. Sorry.
I mean, he's the fan favorite. If you ask people on Twitter, like he is the fan favorite. And like the last few episodes, I think Genevieve kind of took that over just because she was on it more. But I mean, Saul was the fan favorite for when he was there. I'm gonna give him a B. I think he's in the same Keyshawn boot of him not doing anything wrong. Like he didn't do anything to actively cause his demise, but at the same time, he was just so unlucky. He was just playing with people who just didn't want to play with him, like Rome, like Genevieve, who just like for some reason just didn't want to work with him. They wanted to just like take him out when they could. And even Asia, like, that I think he was on the wrong tribe. I think if he's on any other tribe, if he's on the blue tribe, if he's in Kyle's spot, I think he's in the final 3. Like, I really do think so. I think he's one of those players who on a return could do, he like Genevieve, I think he's a better player than this season let off. Like, he played a worse game than he is a player. So that's
agree with that.
And I think there's a chance he gets a call, but not for 50.
Zach, that's the other weird thing about Genevieve. Sorry. The other weird thing about Genevieve is she
said we needed to get out of
Sorry. Never mind.
He's the problem.
Never mind.
No, talk about it when we get to Sue next time, Austin. Think about it now and find a way to weave it into Sue.
Yeah, I'll weave it into my
Zach,
Sue.
go ahead.
Saul, A+ for Daddy, B- for Game.
Okay.
Iconic.
That first tribal after he was on jury was unbelievable. I can't believe it happened.
No notes.
No notes.
A+.
I don't know how much he did, and on a season where he had a lot of people really pulling focus, it just doesn't do it. Will he be back? Probably. I hope so. He would be great on another season.
Daddylicious for sure.
Daddylicious, A+ for the best.
All right, we're going from Daddy. Let's go to Mommy. Let's go to Sue. Or Mother. What do they say?
I want that soundbite.
Here we go.
What do they say? Mommy, Mother. What is it?
Mother.
Sorry, Mother. Going from Daddy to Mother.
Grandmother. Anyway.
Damn.
The 40-year-old.
A+ for Contour. C, maybe even C- for Game. And that's being a little generous. I think it's wonderful she kept her idol a secret and kept it for so long and then played it and everyone was like, oh. But I think there were so many other better opportunities that if she was a better player, she could have used it better. Like, she could have used it to save Gabe if she could have sniffed out that Gabe was going. She could have used it to save Caroline if she could have sniffed out Caroline was going. I think either of those things they reflect well on the person that's being played for, but Sue, if she gets the end of those people, could be like, hey, they wouldn't be here if I didn't save them. Mm-hmm. I think that would have been Sue's best case scenario in a final, is to be there with someone she used that idol to successfully save. So C- as a player, like I think it's really impressive that she got to the end, and I don't want to give someone who got to the final 3 anything less than a C. I think it's absolutely crazy that Sue and Genevieve, and mainly Genevieve, got so mad at Saul for taking out Rome that it then motivated them to take out Saul, when Genevieve equally put her finger on the pulse to get rid of Rome. Sorry, that's just the last thing I had to say about Sue. And I don't think she'll come back.
Okay, I would give Sue honestly a B. Like, I think honestly, in this season, okay, look, I'm gonna take away the picture because you need to see my face. In this season, she did everything right except for win equity. She was not targeted. There was one round she was targeted, and when it was a decoy in the Rome boot, right? Like, maybe she was targeted one other time. She was never targeted.
No, she wasn't.
Always protected, and the reason she was protected is because she made genuine bonds with Caroline and Gabe. Yeah. Gabe, the guy who did not want to make friends. Gabe said, I'm not here to make friends. The very first day, he's like, I'm going to exploit this relationship with Sue. Guess what? Sue makes an actual relationship to where Gabe actually has emotional human moments. Sue, not a player who's ever going to win the game, but she will always go far. I will never, because she's also really good in challenges. She's a good camp provider. She's not just this lazy old woman.
Giving her a B-.
I'm giving her a B because she will make it to the end every single time. Can she win on a given season? Maybe, but like the thing is, she's finding idols. She's making fire. What is Sue doing wrong? All she's doing wrong is putting herself up against people who are just slightly better players. The whole thing, Sue is only in the dark like a few times at the end. It's when Gabe goes home and it's when Caroline goes home. Her two biggest allies. Every other time, she's in the majority. She knows which way to vote. I'm not saying she's the best player of the season, but she is a better player than people give credit for. Sue is getting a B. We will not see her again. Zach.
You might as well bleat for the rest of the video, Dylan, because we're talking about a goat. What?
This is not Philip Shepard. This is not a GOAT that is never going to win the game. She just is not playing an actively strategic game.
I must be in a simulation.
She's probably never going to win, but here's the thing. She's at least a better player. If you put her against... If you put her up against Jake O'Kane and Owen, she beats them based on this game she played and those games they played. Because guess what? She knew what was going on more in the game than other people did. That's all I'll say.
That's kind of fair. I will give you that.
I'm
not saying
resetting
she's a top tier
password
player
right now.
Talk about Cabone.
He's resetting his Peacock password.
Rachel's asking for it. Anyway, this is guys.
Okay, go ahead, Zach. We gotta get on. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
This is a D minus or not a D minus. This is a C minus game, man. You listen. Not doing anything wrong does not give you a better grade ever. Just because if that were the
did she not do anything wrong?
If we were in school and we didn't get anything wrong, we would get an A.
Actually, on the SATs.
Shut up. The SATs.
But that would be like saying you got nothing wrong in the SATs without a pencil and an eraser. She had Gabe and Caroline. She had allies.
But
that trio ran their tribe.
Wait, Zach, what did you give Kyle? Do you remember what grade you gave Kyle?
I think I gave him a C minus.
Okay, you have to give Sue a C then.
I think I gave or somewhere close, like somewhere close around. I think I gave him like a
I'm
C.
not saying Sue's a great.
You got to give him more. You got to give Sue more than Kyle. Come on.
Oh, I'll give Sue more than Kyle. Listen, I'm not a Sue hater. It is not that I'm sitting here being like, Sue's a bad player of Survivor. I gave her flowers, right? She had a goal to accomplish, and she did it. Very, very well done. She accomplished the goal. And sometimes, and this is important, right? In the game of Survivor, it is not always about winning. I mean, it should be. It is $1 million. But even though it's not always about winning, I can't. Sue is at the top of our ranking for so long, Dylan, because there was just never a shot she was going home. And I don't think that's because she was untouchable. I think if you just have the choice between Sue and Andy, you get rid of Andy. If you have the choice between Sue and Genevieve, you get rid of Genevieve. What happens at the end? Who does Rachel take to the end?
But you know why her reasoning was because she felt like Sue was a great ally and gave her loyalty and trust.
Yeah.
And
Otherwise,
did not
beat her. You think Rachel didn't think she could beat Sue? You think Rachel was sitting there like?
You're saying this is the next Tina Wesson, but you can disagree.
It's not. It's just, I'm so sorry.
I will say the reason I bumped my grade up was because Dylan did remind me how fucking badass in challenges this woman is.
She's great. Okay. Wait. She won that challenge holding the weight. She won that challenge holding the weight because she is literally this big, everyone. That
so
challenge.
What 2 challenges, Zach?
What was the other one? I don't even remember.
So was Teeny. So was Annika. So was Caroline. A lot of tiny women on the season. Rachel was tiny.
Most of them were not in this challenge.
And they're not packing melons on that chest like Sue is.
Fake.
They're fake, but they're still extra weight.
What is
Jesus
happening?
Christ. All right, Ingrid, go ahead. Talk about
it. Let's go through Sue real quick.
I would like to
We spent too long on Sue Smee.
I am not going to shorten myself because so y'all men can yap as much as you want.
Amen.
Snaps that.
So Sue is like a solid C to me. Because
fine.
she is really good at getting to the end. She is really bad at winning Survivor. I think that Sue is a mother goat. I think that she is an incredible ally to have in the game if you want to win. Because she will never leave you. She will never leave you. And the only time that she turned on people was when she felt like they had turned on her first. And outside of that, I don't think she's winning. I don't think she's winning almost ever. I think there are, even in those early seasons, like people say, oh, Sue could have won like one of the first 5 seasons. Maybe. But I'm not even fully convinced of that. Because I do think that she will play this loyal game, get to the end with her, I don't know, let's say it's Marquesas, she goes to the end with Boston Rob because that's the person she latches onto at the beginning of the game, and he whoops her ass, and that's it. Like, I think that she is really good at being somebody's number one fan and getting herself to the end. I don't think that she is good at then pitching a case to win against other people that are there with her because she helped them get there.
Yeah.
But not to the point of playing an idol on them, which is where I think she would, that's the only chance I think she has at getting votes, is doing things like that like actively bring those people to the end where they would not have been there otherwise.
Common sense has returned to the chat.
Oh, she's not coming back. They're not bringing her back.
And what I was saying, it was the same thing also. Like, she's not winning the game. But on this season, she didn't do much wrong, is all I was saying. To where I'm not going to put her below average. She did not play a below average game on this season. She played to get to the end. She just couldn't win it. She made it half. I mean, look at how many great. Dan Giesling on Big Brother 14 made it all the way to the end. Couldn't win. Is he a bad player?
We're not doing this. We're not doing this. He loses that season for a reason.
Right, and Sue didn't lose that season for a reason. She just didn't.
Yeah,
she didn't give them any reasons against her. She just didn't give any reasons for it. It's the whole thing of like she didn't do anything wrong.
I don't think the jury respects her, and I think
and that's why she's not getting an A.
I think there's very few times in Survivor where Sue plays and the jury respects her game at the end.
If Caroline and Gabe didn't vote for Sue when they had the opportunity, she did something wrong.
All right, so Carolyn is a bad player as well because Carson didn't vote for Carolyn over Jam Jam.
Whoa.
That's exactly
what I said about Carolyn in that season was I thought she deserved the votes. Okay, that's fair. I'm just saying that there's a case that Sue played a very good game this season.
We're talking about
Sue played a winning game. All right,
y'all want 3 more people.
All right,
Teeny was living rent free in our minds.
As that, we're gonna get more controversial. I'm kidding. No, I think Teeny was great. Television. I start with Teeny, so I'm gonna keep it short. I think Teeny did not play a good season this season, but I think they have a good capability of making it far every season in a similar way to Sue. I'm gonna give them a C+ because I think they played an above average game, but they really didn't do anything actively to like put themselves in contention to be an actual threat at the end. It's just, I feel like everything they tried didn't work for them in a similar way of Jake, in a similar way of Owen, whereas like other people may have coasted through, but I feel like Teeny didn't make any moves. I feel like Teeny was always out of the loop, but I also don't think I think Teeny, there's a reason they weren't targeted as well, is because they had good social bonds. So that's what evens out to like a B- C+ for me, is like they did a lot to get far and be in good graces, but they didn't make any moves and they were still out of the loop more than they were in the loop, which is what puts them below Sue for me, who was in the loop for a lot of things. That's my case on Teeny. Yeah. I think there's a very good chance they get the call. Even for 50, I think there's a good chance they get the call. I think they love Teeny's story. I think they love Teeny, especially Jeff. So I think there's a good chance they are either on Fire podcast host or on 50. Zach, talk about Teeny.
Team Teeny for life. I love Teeny. I want more. Teeny. I understand that people kind of turned on Teeny because Teeny became more emotional than strategic, which does suck from the standpoint of being a viewer. However, I think Teeny probably, aside from Rachel, had the most heart this entire game. Literally played it with it on her their sleeve. Never once faltered in that. So much so to the point where it got them in trouble. I'm not going to give them anything above a B. Above a B because I think that it just doesn't warrant that. I do think there's a reason that they are the one that goes into fire with Sam instead of someone like Sue. Whether it's because there was a less of a likelihood of Teeny winning. I was so heartbroken because all Teeny had to do was block the wind. You just got to block the wind. You got to block the wind.
It was
I am going to say
the homophobic wind is real.
I think it's almost definite for me that they are on 50. I think it's almost definite. I think Jeff wants them there, and I think sometimes that's all that it takes.
All right. Ingrid, thoughts on Teeny?
I'm going to rate Teeny a C+ for a lot of the reasons that you guys have already said. I am extremely partial to this like lovable Charlie Brown character we've been getting recently in the new era. I'm a huge fan of Jake O'Kane. I'm a huge fan of Owen Knight. Just this person that's like, just cannot, no matter what they do, just like really cannot get something to go their way.
2 people Sue Smee can beat in the final 3.
Look, hush.
Keep going. Keep going.
Shut your mouth. So
listen, I'm taking no offense to this. I'll die on my hill. I don't care.
I
don't disagree with you.
You're
Dylan.
bringing things up for no reason. So like I'm very partial to that character. I love Teeny. I mean, obviously, like we have a little bit of an org connection to Teeny via some of our friends that have played with Teeny. But like I think that Teeny has a lot of game growing up to do, if that makes sense. Like I think that on a return, we could see some really fantastic gameplay from Teeny because of how much they learned on this season. I think that they are a better player than this season shows. Correct. Like we've said about a lot of other people. Mm-hmm. I think that anytime that Teeny gets a call, they're saying yes. Mm-hmm. Anytime that Teeny gets a call, I think they're saying yes. And because of that, I would think that they have a very, very high likelihood of being on 50. So yeah, I love Teeny.
Right. Austin. The big sigh.
I'm giving Teeny a C. Love Teeny, but
see, I was gauging your reactions. I thought when I said C+, y'all were like, oh, "That's so low." But
I'm with you. I think that there's
you can love a player and also know that they didn't play.
I said the whole thing of like, it was initially shocking because I was like, "That's lower than what Dylan gave Sue." But then you kept talking. And I was like, "Yeah, Teeny." In a lot of ways was worse than Sue, especially in that like knowledge of what's going on. In the knowledge of what's going on, Teeny was not as in the loop and in the know as Sue, which I think is a poor reflection on Teeny's game. And Teeny was not anything in challenges really either. Like, so that aspect Teeny doesn't necessarily win points in, but I think similar to Sue, they don't really do anything wrong. They just aren't picking up on a lot of things or not being included in a lot of things. So it kind of just is this like very average player. And here's the thing, I don't want Teeny on 50 because of what Ingrid said. No, because of what Ingrid said. I want an older Teeny on Survivor. Yeah, I want Teeny on like Survivor 60.
Mm-hmm. 60 is crazy.
Maybe not that long, but 55. Like I
55.
want 55. Like I want some like I want a few years to go by.
I would worry a little bit about Teeny like this close.
I think Teeny,
they would be Aubrey if they came back so soon.
Yeah, like I think
they would
Teeny
flame out.
Like
I don't know what that means.
I think Teeny as like how
Nicole Anthony, Zach. Nicole Anthony.
Teeny's like 24, probably 23 when they played.
Yeah.
Like I think like a 28, 29-year-old Teeny would be a much better Survivor
Give
player.
Me that fully developed frontal cortex.
Yes.
That's why I don't think Teeny's on 50. I think there's one, maybe two spots max per season. And I don't think Teeny's in the top 3 of the season for getting the
I think they're crazy.
Well, okay. Now
I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't think it's gonna happen.
There's still 2 players left to talk about, but those 2 are not gonna be on 50. So I'll just ask right now, which 2 locks are on 50 for you, Austin?
Teeny. Oh.
If there were only 2 spots, Austin, who is it?
Andy and Genevieve.
I would also say Andy and Genevieve. Zach, what would you say?
Teeny and Sam, bro. They were the whole finale.
And Ingrid?
I don't feel like I have like a strong lock for any of them. I'm just to be different. I'm gonna say Andy and Sam or Andy and Teeny.
Okay. Gotcha. No, I was just curious. And then there, we'll see. There could be 4 of them on there. Who knows? Maybe this is the Kagayan where they take 4 of them. I think those are the top 4 though. We've all been kind of talking about it. Like Teeny, Sam, Genevieve, Andy seem to be like.
I don't want to see Andy, but I feel like he's going to be.
I'm giving these last 2 the grades of F and C.
F here?
Oh no! Sorry. Okay,
I'm kidding.
Yeah.
According to this, because of initials, this is alphabetically next on my list.
Yeah.
So Austin, are you starting with us?
I don't have much to say about her. I think it's really unfortunate that Rachel poofs out of there, and it kind of. But like, if Tuku would have gone to another pre-merge tribal, she's screwed there anyway. That like she's going, and like, it's bad on her to like. TK sucks. I get it, but it's bad on her to get rid of him. So, like, I would even maybe venture down to a D for Tiana. I like her a lot, though.
Yeah, I'm at a C average, like perfectly average, because I really think she got screwed by luck in the fact that like on her tribe there just happened to be a tight 3 alliance that like if you go against you risk going to rocks, if you side with you're their fourth,
Yeah.
and that's the problem is Tiana never had a win scenario. She either flips on TK and then puts herself at the bottom of the Gabe Sue Caroline trio, or she risks going to rocks and being the second person out by rocks. But I think that honestly would have been a better story for her than where it ended, because I think she was just such an easy boot. So I'm gonna give her a plain C, the most average person on the season, I think. Zach?
Yeah.
And I don't think she's come back for 50. Sorry, I know Austin didn't answer that either, but I think
you already said that, and I think we all.
It's really tough to be the pre-merge boot, because you unless you have like a wildly memorable moment, you don't really have anything to go off of. And I'll give her a C, mainly just because again, there's nothing wrong with Tiana. She again sort of just by happenstance ended up falling in the middle of what is a shitty situation.
All right, Ingrid.
Not coming back.
C-. Just, I mean, not that I feel like she could have really done much, but like, is there a better situation if she keeps TK or tries to keep TK? I don't know. That's why it's kind of in that minus for me. Because we will never know. The only time I could see them bringing Tiana back, not for 50, but like the only scenario in which I see them bringing her back is if they do like a new era second chance.
Okay.
New era specific second chance.
Yeah.
Because she was so screwed by that.
Especially because it was
I'm
Rachel.
shout it from the rooftops. If you make the merge, you should be on the jury.
Don't shout it from the rooftops of an apartment complex.
If you make the merge, you should be on the jury. And it
I agree with that. I do
Imagine
agree.
how crazy a Rome jury would be, though, if Rome was on.
That would be crazy, but still, I think if you make it to a point where everybody's on the same beach and they all vote you out together, you should be on the jury.
I agree.
Hey,
and that's how I feel.
Where's TK at?
All right, Zach.
That's my opinion. And so I'm mad at her.
Give us the worst player.
Yeah, I wanted to save him for last because he is last alphabetically, unless you count T first before Teeny. I will start with him because he was my winner pick of the season, and is the worst winner pick I've ever had. I've never predicted a first boot. None of us have. Zach and I now have each predicted a second boot. Technically, Zach was the second boot because Jackson got medevac. Yeah, Jackson got medevac, but Zach was the first vote out. But Zach and I have now picked a second boot twice. Zach picked Zach Wartenberger. I picked TK. So I'm giving him a big old F because he failed me, and I'm upset about it. I really don't know what else he could have done to like. I think he did everything wrong, and there wasn't anything he could have done right. He went on the journey when he shouldn't have to keep him disassociated from his tribe. He also, when he was on his tribe as the strongest member on an already strong tribe with Kyle, Gabe, and Sue, somehow made himself the number one target. Does not make sense. No world should TK ever be the first boot of his tribe. He did it all to himself, and it sucks because I really do think, based on the videos, I do think there is a world where he could do well at Survivor. Maybe it's his tribe, but I really think this showed that this was not his season, I guess, because he just, honestly, he's the person who I think seasons 1 through 5, he wins. Like, because I think that at that time, they're not going to get rid of you for being an asshole because you're the hard worker at camp. I think he's going to make it to the end. And then, that's the type of season he wins, not the modern era where if you're a dick, they're going to get rid of you regardless of how strong you are. So he's getting an F from me, not coming back. Zach?
F, dude. I really hate it too. We both had him pretty high in like our initial rankings, and he is probably the hardest hit we've had. Like Zach Wartenberger was like I picked him because I was like
and he was my 18 that season, so it was like a funny thing where we picked opposites. This was one we were collective on. Yeah,
this was crazy, crazy in the fact that like there was an opportunity to do everything right, and even doing the things wrong that he did wrong, there was an opportunity to make them right, and he just didn't. And it's just crazy to do that on a game where you are competing for $1 million. And part of the $1 million competition is making connections with people. It was so rough. I hesitate to say that, like, I think there might be a world on like a second chances sort of thing, like where they maybe ask him back, but just such a poor showing to watch someone fail like that so fast. Yeah, I'm going to go with no, but I'm optimistic that he could have an opportunity at some point.
All right, Ingrid.
F boo tomato. I think like
tomato.
He had so like Zach said, he had so many opportunities to do the right thing, and he just chose not to. Blatantly over and over again. He had so many like locked in connections for different reasons. Him and Gabe are both from like similar parts of Maryland, and I believe went to the same college. Like locked, like there's a whole scene, like one scene about it where they're talking about it right before he goes home. Like he had connections ready to go with people who would have kept him if he would just shut up. Like he was a victim of his own ego. He was a victim of his own like inability to like prioritize what matters in Survivor. They're like, he just does so much wrong. He does so much wrong, and there isn't an excuse for it. Like there are other players where it's like, okay, I can see why you made that bad choice, or why you might have thought it was the right choice even though it wasn't. That doesn't exist for him. And like you guys said, like there's no reason he should have been out as early as he was. None.
You don't mess with the best player of the season, Sue. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean,
oh my god.
I'm also gonna go ahead with the F for TK, but I do want to give him a little bit of grace on this. There was nothing he could do. Like he did everything wrong. I think one of the things that we're not taking into consideration here that we should is the Gabe of it all. Like, and this only came to mind when you were talking about like how locked in he should have been able to be with Gabe because of all their connection. Gabe had this whole strategy of these wounded birds. Yeah. Whereas in most seasons of Survivor, no one's going to be looking at that early in the game, like round 2 of the game. They're not already going to be like, oh, here are my goats. And not that Caroline's a goat, but that's what Gabe's perception.
Right. Well, that's why I thought Caroline was going to be the first out on this tribe for that very reason.
Yeah. And so like you're not going to see that on most seasons. And I think like, yes, TK said a lot of stuff, did a lot of stuff wrong, and did not make himself any friends. But I still think at the end of the day, if Gabe wants him to stay there and doesn't so badly want to keep his Sue and Caroline thing, like if Gabe is playing a different strategy of like keeping his tribe strong in like a physical way and really buying into that like bromance type deal, then I could see a world where TK doesn't go there, even if he does everything he did.
Yeah.
But it's still an F. Like there were things he could have done that he didn't do.
All right. And last but not, I'm kidding.
My counter argument to that is why does he keep Kyle?
Why does who keep Kyle?
Gabe. Because they could have gotten rid of Kyle that night.
What night?
When TK
the night
home.
TK went home.
Oh. Well, because that was the easier thing to sell Tiana on. It's easier to sell Tiana on to gain out TK than Kyle at that point.
Because of things that TK had done.
Yeah. Right. But still. But TK what I'm saying is TK and Kyle aren't even options if Gabe doesn't on day 2 have this take the goats to the end strategy already.
Fair, but I think that there's still a way out for TK that he just doesn't take.
There's a world where they all flip on Tiana. Gabe says, hey, TK, Kyle, let's vote for Tiana. I don't know. There's a million ways that could have gone. I think for a lot of these players, it's like they're better players than they played on this season. I think that's what we learned from the ratings. Like, I think Teeny plays better on a season. That's not this one. Genevieve, Saul. There's so many players I think would do so much better on different seasons. So that's kind of what we learned of Survivor 47. So that is it. Everyone, I know it's been 2 hours. I know you guys have to go to bed. I know I told you both you'd be done by 10:30, and it is an hour and a half later. So I will let you all go to bed. Last plugs, Austin, Ingrid. First podcast here on Recipe for Reality as a married couple. Congratulations. I know you guys are on draft day, but I wanted to publicly congratulate you here. Congratulations. Any last things to share? Any last departing words before we move on? I know we don't have time to assess traders, but if you have a winner pick you want to throw out for that.
A winner pick is hard.
Winner is really hard.
I would love to see Brittany Haynes as a trader. Like I like that. That's more what I want to throw out. Like I would rather see Brittany Haynes as a trader than a Danielle Reyes as a trader, just because I think everyone's going to assume she is one.
I think Brittany has high win potential regardless.
Yeah. Right. And I also random thing. I'm weirdly really excited for Dylan Efron.
My namesake.
Just because in everything he's done, he's just.
Wait a second. Dylan Efron is Zach's brother. Zach, we never made that
Zach Efron's brother. Yeah.
Zach and Dylan.
Oh, we've never made that connection.
All right.
That's kind of crazy.
Every single thing that I've seen of him is like he's this huge Survivor fan, and I just love that about him. So I'm just excited to see Dylan on the and Bob Harper.
Yes, Biggest Loser. Yeah.
My I don't want to say winner pick. 2 people that I really want to see there for the whole season, whether they win or not, are obviously Carolyn because she's my favorite, and Bob the Drag Queen, Justice for Peppermint.
Yes, Justice for Peppermint. Well, thank you guys as always for joining. This is so much fun every
single time. We love being here.
We'll come anytime you ask us.
I'll be back for sure. Zach, any last words from you? Who's your recipe for reality? Really quick, Zach.
Well, of course it's Sue.
Plot twist.
No, it's Teeny. I just love Teeny. Big Teeny fan. Big Rachel fan. 47. You never asked me where 47 fell in my rankings.
Oh yeah.
Lynn.
Sorry, we have more time to talk about it. We only get them for this 2 hours.
40, but I will say, I think 47.
Very extended hour.
47 and 44 are probably interchangeable between 1 and 2, with 46 kind of like right behind, and then 42 following. Did I say that right? 47 and 44 are interchangeable as 1 and 2. 46 is right behind in the third, and then 42 is at my 4th place spot. I think it was a great season. I think we had probably some of the most fun I've had watching Survivor, and I'm excited to see whatever 48 is.
Great. Really quick, Zach, do you know the cast of Traitors, or have you been following, or do you have a winner pick?
I'm going to pick Brittany Hayes.
Brother Girlies. Yeah, Brittany. I'm backing Jeremy Collins, winner of Survivor. I think he's going to be the stealthy Survivor pick. Not going to stand out. Going to be able to kind of be the glue guy, if you will.
And I will give the last Survivor standing.
I would hope so. Because honestly, I think Tony's an early out. I think Rob's an early out. I don't even know if Rob's coming in based on those first 7 minutes. But I will also say my recipe for reality is Saul's vest. That is going to be my recipe for reality for the week. Austin Ingrid, really quick, who gets your recipe for reality this week? Or this month, I guess, or this season.
What can we just kind of what is a recipe for reality?
No, just like they have the recipe for a reality star. Like they have that it factor.
It's our trophy.
We usually give it to like the best player of that episode, but like,
or you can do something funny with it.
Yeah, like we've given it to Probst a bunch of times.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely it's Saul in every way, shape, or form. It doesn't even just have to be the best. It's just just everything about Saul.
Great. Ingrid.
I'm just gonna say Rachel's funeral Devolicious Idol play because people talk too much about Operation Italy and not enough about that.
I would agree.
Oh, it's also Party Shallow on Deal or No Deal Island.
Yes, I haven't watched Dondi yet. I think you have to pronounce it Dondi or Dundee. Like
Dondi.
Shout out Phil Solomon on Deal or No Deal Island. Hey Phil.
You know Phil?
Watching. I do know Phil.
Oh, very cool. All right, we might have to have him on. Yeah, if you're a Survivor alum and you want to come on, if you have what it takes to be on Recipe for Reality, apply now. We'll have you on. But thank you guys so much, Austin Ingrid. Thank you for taking your time and your late nights and hours and snowstorms to be with us and get this situated. We always have so much fun talking with y'all, and I will stand by it. Sue Smay, top 5 player of the season, and we will see you all next time. Bye.